Duplo Expresso.
Hi, my name is Wellington Calasans and this is Duplo Expresso, your weekly news program about the political and democratic situation in Brazil. I'm talking from Stockholm, Sweden, and my colleague and co-host Romulus Maya is in Bern, Switzerland. Romulus, any news on Lula's new judgments at Brazilian higher courts?
Hello, Wellington. Hello, viewers. It's great to have you back for another edition of Duplo Expresso. Well, Wellington, regarding your question, we do have news, but nothing really new. Earlier this week, former President Lula's appeal, who has been illegally kept in jail for over a year now, reached the Superior Court of Justice in Brasilia, the country capital, and was tried by a panel of 4 high judges. The outcome, with no surprise, at least for us, was negative. His appeal was mostly dismissed, and as a result of that, he will be kept in jail. On the other hand, his sentence time was reduced from 12 to 8 years, which is being celebrated by some in the left. They believe that as a result of that, Lula could leave jail and move on to house arrest in the second semester. But this is just a faint hope, which is being deliberately kept on the horizon, always on the horizon, by the judiciary, so that supporters of Lula never come to the full realization that he's never leaving jail, at least not alive. Meanwhile, these supporters do very little, if anything, waiting for the return of their wronged Messiah. It is almost certain that before that, Lula's second conviction will have been confirmed by the appeals court, and as a result of that, several years will be added to his jail time, preventing him from moving on to house arrest in the second semester. And there are still several other charges in line awaiting trial, all with the same very negative prospect for Lula. We here at Duplo Expresso have been pointing to this likely outcome from the very beginning, warning people not to count on anything good coming out of these judicial proceedings. As strange as this might seem, we have been strongly criticized by some members of Lula's own party, the Workers' Party, precisely for telling the truth. They claim that denying people hope, even if it's a false one, would make them less engaged. But what actually happens is the exact opposite. Each time people nurture these false hopes, which never come to materialize, they get frustrated and somewhat depressed. Many of them feel disenchanted and choose to take care of their own private lives, giving up on politics altogether. The truth, however hard it might be, and realistic expectations are always preferable in order to keep people engaged for a long-term fight, as will be necessarily the case in Brazil. Even if that were not the case, but it is, truth and realism are part of our own philosophy here at Duplo Expresso. This puts us at odds with not only the conservative political powers in Brazil, but also part of the left, which acts as if its supporters were better served being fooled and manipulated. We can do nothing about it other than regret it, because we will keep on telling people the truth, however hard it might be, so they can make their own educated political choices. And this is why we say, yet again, that Lula is not, in all likelihood, going to be freed in the second semester of this year. We all have to stop waiting for that as the idealized day of our redemption, because that day will not arrive. Instead of waiting, we have to take the fight into our own hands, now. Wellington.
Thank you, Romulus. And now our political commentator Samuel Gomes will give his take on the result. Brazil's huge oil reserves. Is it a curse or a passport to the future?
Let's talk a little bit about Brazil. Pre-salt, a curse or a passport to the future? The discovery of oil reserves in the pre-salt layer is a feat of Brazilian engineering. The first oil field was authorized to be exploited by Chevron, the company that was associated with Petrobras in the pre-salt project, worked for a couple of years, drilled near 5,000 meters, and gave up in July 2005. Petrobras went alone. It drilled 7,500 meters deep, 300 kilometers from the coast, at a cost of $240 million, the first exploratory well. Oil gushed from the first pre-salt well on September 2nd, 2006. The field in which this first well was pierced was named Tupi. Tupi means the linguistic trunk of original peoples and also mythological ancestral of the same people. The research kept going and discovered other gigantic fields, among the largest in the world. The forecasts are of more than 150 billion barrels of light oil being able to reach 300 billion barrels. Zero exploration risk. Any company that drills there finds oil. President Lula announced the pre-salt as Brazil's passport to the future. A new juridical regime was organized to the pre-salt to preserve national interests and the money coming from this to the development of Brazil. Petrobras was granted an authorization by former President Lula to carry on. The government increased the company's capital to keep up the challenges of exploiting the pre-salt layer under the leadership of engineer Guilherme Estrela, known in Brazil as the man who discovered the pre-salt. And the results were astounding. Fast forward today. Lula has been in jail for over a year now. He was incarcerated by car wash, the mediatic and judicial operation directly coordinated with the U.S. Department of Justice. Lula is in jail, and the judge who presided over the trial, Sérgio Moro, became the all-powerful Minister of Justice. One of the goals of this operation was to hit Petrobras. And as a result, the company is being shredded to pieces and losing internal synergy. This is an attack by financial bandits and lawyers representing speculative funds protected by US laws, who impose agreements that are harmful to the company due to alleged losses from corruption. The boards of executive directors are replaced one after other as occupation troops, as hungry hyenas or buzzards, and the giant state-owned company bleeds. This round of attacks began in 2008 during Lula's second term of office, when 2 notebooks and 4 HDs with sensitive information, which were under the protection of the North American security company Halliburton, were simply stolen from a container. The attack continued during Dilma Rousseff's rule with NSA espionage at Petrobras and the personal telephone number of the President of Brazil. It increased during Michel Temer's administration. The Vice President who was instrumental to the 2016 coup d'etat that ousted Dilma, and during the government of the current president, Bolsonaro, it became a case of daylight robbery. Petrobras no longer behaves as a national oil company, but as a corporation that works for the benefit of its foreign shareholders. It all began when former President Fernando Henrique Cardoso ordered the IPO of Petrobras at the New York Stock Exchange. Lula missed the boat. When oil prices were low, he could and should have bought back the shares, but he didn't do it. While oil companies around the world are promoting the vertical integration of their operations, increasing the integration of several areas of their oil and gas chain, Petrobras is under a disaggregating and financial intervention led by and benefiting foreign interests. The Brazilian people, stunned by unemployment, violence, the media fostered terror, and the digital militias of a hybrid war that is being waged against Brazil, is unable to see what their real interests are. Everything is happening very quickly, just like in a macabre thriller. The new board of executive directors said it wants to divest half of the company's refining assets by June. They want to make the company become an exporter of crude oil and an importer of derivative products, diesel and gasoline. The subsidiary that owns oil ducts is also being sold. The sale of the subsidiaries that produce fertilizers, a strategic input for the food security of the country, completes this image of destruction and terror. This is a military campaign aimed to completely destroy the company that best symbolizes Brazilian intelligence and the entrepreneur ability of its people, in which is the pillar on which a future nationalist and popular government could be able to rebuild the Brazilian economy. But it's still early days. It's too early to know whether the pre-salt will confirm the bad omens surrounded today, or whether it may become Brazil's passport to the future once again. The solution will not come from the economy, but rather from politics. It's a war. It's a hybrid war.
We just heard Samuel Gomes there, our political commentator. And now, Duplo Expresso will receive Sandra Dias dos Santos, who is AIPEX manager, Angola's private investment and export promotion agency. We'll discuss about the relationship of Angola with Brazil and also Sweden.
I am Sandra Dias dos Santos, member of the board of directors of AIPEX, which is the Agency for Private Investment and Promotion of Exports of Angola. The relations between Angola and Brazil date from the 70s, 75 to be more accurate, when Brazil recognized the independence of Angola. The relations, when it comes to commercial relations, things have improved a lot since the beginning. Angola has had Brazil as one of the most important commercial partners. We have big Brazilian companies established in Angola, and things are more or less, I would say that the brotherhood between the countries is very important for both countries. And from our perspective as the Agency for Private Investment, we of course would like to see that Brazil's presence would improve in Angola. But I think we're at the stage where we are seeing things moving in a positive way. The areas where we have most commercial exchange, I would say, would be in construction, in mining, but I think Brazil has much more to offer Angola and vice versa. When it comes to relations between Angola and Sweden, we are in Sweden at the moment, so the relations between Angola and Sweden, I would say in the beginning were more in a humanitarian basis. Sweden was one of the countries that supported Angola for many years, but lately we have seen also an improvement in commercial relations. We would like to see trade develop more between the countries. This week, for instance, we had the presence of the Angolan Minister of Energy and Waters, and this would mean, or will mean, that a lot of exchange will come. There are projects being planned where Sweden will finance infrastructure projects to be implemented in Angola.
That was Sandra Dias dos Santos from the AIPEX. And now, Edgard Antunes Dias Batista, a representative of BRASSAR, a group of Brazilian and Swedish activists, will tell us about BRASSAR's agenda for the month of May.
Hello, my name is Edgar, and I'm here again to tell you about the activities of the BRASSAR, Brazilians and Friends of Brazil for Democracy and Against the Coup, here in Sweden. We are going to have an event about the Amazon and the indigenous people. This event now in May. We are going to have two guests that are locals from the Amazon, and they are seringueiros, workers from the forest. They work in a sustainable way in the forest, and they are under attack in this government, because the government is giving all the priority to the agribusiness that wants to remove the forest and just have instead monocultures or pasture instead. The indigenous people is also under attack. Their land is in dangers to be taken, and this it will be the main subject of our event we are planning. Our group is also participate in the activities of the Latin America Group, and in the 1st of May we are going to participate in the parade of 1st of May together with Vänster Partiet. And finally, for the summer we are planning festival, Free Lula Festival, a cultural festival with musicians from Brazil, from Latin America, from Sweden, and other artists as well. This to be held in the summer. Okay, these are the activities for the BRASSAR, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
That was Edgard Antunes Dias Batista from BRASSAR. Duplo Expresso will be back next week with more news and analysis about Brazil. Thank you for watching us, and we hope to have you back next week. Thank you, Wellington.
Thank you, Romulus. And now, Duplo Expresso's song of the month, The Future Without Pain, O Futuro Sem Dor, with my lyrics and music by Leonardo Lobo. Thank you and goodbye.
A Globo passa fim do mundo fosse. Fogem do debate como o da cruz. Fogem do debate como o da cruz. Fogem do debate como o da cruz. O anjo do mal debater o que vem depois. Faz nascer o futuro sem dor. Como da cruz, o anjo do mal debater o que vem depois. Faz nascer o futuro sem dor.
Duplo Expresso.